All right, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth. And salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. Excuse me. For today's lesson, I'm just going to be going through a quick article. His title I have here are The Draft and the Men with Favor. And I was just wanting to take this lesson in a different route, because, recently, I saw the elder in South Carolina talking about the, a post that Cardi B made, and, talking about a lot of these, essentially, the young people of today's time. They're not super very interested in this particular selective service, right? And I just wanted to go through the mindset of some of these young people and the difference, right? And what it would be like, that Lord's will, the Lord has favor upon us in those times, right? So what I want to do is read a little bit of this article here. It's kind of paralleling to the sentiments in regards to this article that came out, with men being 18 to 26. I think they have to essentially sign up for the selective service, right? And it's a bill in the House, right, in the U.S. So I kind of just wanted to put, throw in my 2 cents in, and Lord's will, as always, is be an edifying lesson, right? So this is military recruiting crisis in Gen Z, right? So Gen Z is essentially, I believe they're born 95 and onwards, right? I believe 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, this is I think this is Wall Street Journal. This is just an opinion piece, so I'm just going to read a couple of it, and as Lord's will, this be edifying. So it says, a new kind of soldier. The decline in physical and mental fitness amongst young adults has made many ineligible for military service is worrisome, but it may not be a grave national security concern. This is because our methods of killing terrorists and thwarting attacks are now relying more on technology than manpower. But even though that is the case, it still isn't a huge issue, because in comparison to past wars that America has been involved in, a lot of these young people today are especially very overweight, and they're more caught up in different devices, social media. They're not as active as they used to be, right? So further on it says actually, let me skip down here. There's another point I wanted to touch on. Okay, down here it says military serves as an important role in economic mobility for the working class. For this often drives recruitment. I have peers who have been able to attend college because of the GI Bill and other associated benefits, which have exempted them from continuously spiraling college debt crisis. Public support, for college debt relief and other similar measures have damaged this enlistment incentive. So essentially, America is becoming a place where, they don't feel as incentivized to actually participate in these particular avenues, right? So this is the sentiment that Gen Z is experiencing, right? So further on here, it says, I'm just going to read a little bit down. I kind of just hitting a couple points. It says, oh, this is good. Okay, so it says the convergence of anti-American sentiment, falling of physical health standards, culminated by 80% from 18 to 24-year-olds being deemed unfit to serve, which has deepened the recruitment retirement ratio, right? And I know the scriptures do say that bodily exercise profited little, but it still does profit. But you see the decline in what's going on in the West, because there is so much what's the word I'm looking for? There's so much distractions. There's so much filth, and it's so much best word I can say is comfort as well. There's so much comfort to the point where, these young people, they don't feel challenged to actually do anything. There's no sense of patriotism, because this country is so in the West, for example, in America, for example, it's so divided. And Yahweh Shai said, if a kingdom be divided itself, to roughly paraphrase, how can it stand? Right? So there's so many different divisions and multiple different facets. And being for myself, like being growing up, not growing up, excuse me, but attending college and university, there's so much division, whether it's pro-life, pro-choice, anti-gun, pro-gun, pro this, pro that. There's so much divisions on so many facets, right? So so here it says, to Gen Z, the idea of serving our country means working as an activist, spreading campaigns and firing verbal warning shots, at anyone who dares to disagree. This generation is blinded by rose-colored glasses, refusing to accept reality until it's too late. We must pull our heads out of our smartphones and examine such necessary changes, as the polarizing politics is instilling national pride, right? So essentially, they don't feel that zeal to actually fight in American wars, right? And that is that's also contributing to the essentially the decline in America, the decline in the military, because there's a disincentive to actually participate, to fight, right? When you look at other countries, for example, as China, Russia, their military campaigns are vastly different in comparison to the military campaigns in the US, right? Because it's an urge and a filthy push to push essentially the alphabet agenda inside of the military, and this is producing the kind of quality in the soldiers that you're seeing today. You don't have fat shaming. You have fat shaming, essentially. You have the alphabet lifestyle. As a matter of fact, let me get this quick scripture here. Then I'm going to get a couple more precepts. This is just bear with me on this. Okay, this is Jeremiah 51 verse 7, and it says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand, that hath made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. And that wine referring to those different philosophies that I'm speaking of, right? That has, made these other countries drunken, that follow and wonder after it, essentially. And this is why a lot of these nations are mad. And this is why a lot of countries, for example, like China, Russia, shun those different practices and shun especially those movies as well, because what America has done is push this wine, these philosophies, into the media as well. So not just in your military campaigns, but they push it in your TV, they push it in your movies. There's diversity quotas, all this and that and the third, and it's trickled down and it's starting to infiltrate into countries, and the countries are realizing, we don't want this, because they're realizing it has had detrimental effects, especially on their men, right? They understand, these countries in the East, for example, like you BRICS nations, they understand that these particular countries, once they get a whiff of this wine, they realize they're going to be drunk. They're going to be intoxicated. It's going to make their men weaker, right? And, for example, the feminism, all these different philosophies that are infiltrating into their different media, right? What has happened is it's making this country, it's making this generation weak, and these countries understand this. These countries understand this, right? So, it says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Excuse me. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed, right? So, Babylon is not going to be healed, right? That's why it's going to be taken out, within that 1 hour, right? So, let me just get a couple more precepts in regards to this. because these young people here, they're not, you know they don't have this in their minds to actually go up there and fight anyway. This Proverbs 29 verse 2, it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And this is the condition, the state that the people are in the earth, because they're in a state of mourning, especially these young people, because they're more caught up in essentially how their appearance, finishing their college, finishing the university, they're more concerned about pronouns. That's another thing too. So you realize that that the condition of the minds of these people, of these young people especially, they're more concerned about their their essentially their pronouns, and their pronouns being respected. They're more concerned about the cinnamon dust that's in their pumpkin spice latte. They're angry over these particular things. Oh, you didn't call me by my pronouns. I feel triggered and offended. This is a nation is producing a lot of young people that people are so easily offended by everything, right? So you can't even rebuke and correct a lot of these young people, especially our young people, right? Because a lot of them are monsters. Right? Let's see, there's another script. Second Ezra 14. Okay, I'll start at 16. Second Ezra 14 verse 16, and it says, for greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done thereafter. Verse 17, and here's the point. It says, for look how much the world shall be weaker through age. How much more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein? And that's true. And just going back into the minds, especially these young people, I have to go and fight in this war, right? These young people, their minds are not concerned about the military. They're not concerned about going out to essentially, go up and fight, because when you look at, the generations of our grandfathers, you have the decline, of testosterone, you have contaminants in the waters. So you have a lot of contaminants essentially that are making a lot of these men more feminine. And I think I read an article recently which said Generation Z is one of, these people they're more likely to honestly identify with the alphabet lifestyle, the LGBTQ lifestyle. And this is very interesting because these people don't reproduce, and this is not ringing any bells to anybody, right? So if these people don't reproduce, you understand the amount of estrogen, the amount of feminine energy that's in this place, that's in Babylon. And this is the kind of people they want to go send and fight. A lot of these young people are gonna die. to be frank with you, right? So this is contributing to that weakness, right? That's perpetuated in the society, and that's another thing too. We don't live as long as we used to, they're even more obese and they're less in shape, right? So you have more. And on top of that, you have the serpent's juice that came out a couple of years ago, right? So are these really the people that you can send out and fight in a war, right? A lot of these young people are gonna die, right? Anyways, I wanted to get a couple more scriptures in regards to the men with favor, because that was something else that was sticking out to me as well. As a matter of fact, let me get this, because this is another sentiment that is shared and experienced amongst these young people. Okay, this is Proverbs 25, verse 19, and it says, confidence in an unfaithful man in a time of trouble is like a broken tooth and a foot out of joint, right? And, a broken tooth is and a foot out of joint is something useless. It's not, you can't use it. A broken tooth, you can't use it to chew or rip apart or anything like that. You can't run or stand or, do anything productive if your foot's out of joint, right? So and Esau is essentially an example of that unfaithful man, because this is why a lot of these young people feel disincentivized to actually go out there and essentially fight for their country, right? They don't want to do that, right? So a lot of them are going to get drafted and a lot of them are going to die. So I wanted to bring this out as well because, this was I'm just going to get 2 more precepts, and Lord's will, this would, hopefully this would be edifying. I believe it's 39. Just bear with me on this. Okay, this is Genesis. Okay, I'll start at verse 20. This is Genesis 39, verse 20. It says, and Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. But the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison, right? So, and I read this because, my prediction is that, what Esau would do, he would, mess around with the numbers. So he might increase the age bracket, a lot of us, they might make in a situation where we have to go out and fight, but we refuse to say no. They're going to send a lot of us into prison. That's the point I'm trying to make here, right? But I'm just bringing this out to actually recall the ways of our forefathers, right? And some of the things that the Lord would do to actually protect us from these particular situations, right? Where some of us would have to go to prison, right? And Joseph in this situation, he was accused of laying with that woman, right? And which he didn't, but he the point I really wanted to bring out here was the fact that Joseph, the Lord had mercy on Joseph, and he still gave him favor in the sight of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed Joseph's hand. All the prisoners were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. And the keeper of the prison looked not out at anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him. And which he did, the Lord made it to prosper, right? So Joseph was in a situation where the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai, was with him, right? And that was something, that's just a very, very touching, story, because despite the situation he was in, the Lord, still had favor and had mercy upon him, and even in a dire situation like that, right? So, just to bring some comfort to brothers that are, because I myself am also within that age bracket, and this is a possibility that can happen, right? So I'll get another one, and then I guess I'll just wrap it up, right? The point really is mercy, the Lord have mercy upon us, and having favor, right? Because remember, when you recall, like when when Saul was persecuting David, when the Spirit of the Lord essentially left him, you saw how Saul's behavior changed, and he became a lot more carnal, he became a lot more frantic, he became a lot more double-minded, and this, that, and the fourth, right? So that's why we want Yahweh Bashem Shai to have favor upon us and have mercy upon us, if it's his will for us to be in a situation like that, right? Okay, Isaiah 32 verse 2, and it says, "And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land." Right? And I read this because it shows the quality of a man of that 144,000, that's going to be, especially in those times, a righteous man, a virtuous man, because you're going to have a lot of spirits created for vengeance, right? And you have a lot of men out here who have been wronged by, like, for example, a lot of these women, and they're going to take a lot of vengeance upon these women. They're going to take a lot of vengeance upon politicians, whoever it is they were wronged by, right? Because remember, a lot of these men, they're just waiting for that opportunity. A lot of these men, for example, were wronged by the government because a lot of them lost their jobs, they lost their livelihood due to that serpent's juice, a couple years ago. Right now, I've noticed that a lot of companies are rehiring a lot of those people. But remember, you still have those spirits created for vengeance. You're still going to have the love of many waxing cold. So all these particular things, right? That's why it's so precious, for the Lord to have favor upon us, especially in these times, right? So, it's going to be, a comfort to actually have a man of the Lord like this in those times, a righteous man. So anyways, hopefully this video was edifying. I think I made it a little bit too long, but hopefully this was a little bit of comfort and awareness as to what's going on. And I'd like to give our praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, Glory Millstone, for teaching us His truth. Salaki for the noise in the background, forgive me. But hopefully this lesson was comforting as well as edifying. Until next time, I say Shalom.